If you are watching this, you are likely exhausted. Not just tired from a long day or a busy week, but deeply, spiritually drained. You feel like you have been running on a treadmill that never stops, trying to prove your worth, trying to explain your intentions, and trying to keep the peace in a relationship that feels anything but peaceful. You might be confused about how things got this way. You might be questioning your own memory, your own sanity, and even your own character. You look back at the beginning of the relationship and wonder where the person you fell in love with went. You wonder what you did wrong to cause this shift. You carry a heavy weight of guilt, believing that if you just tried harder, loved better, or communicated more clearly, things would be different. But the truth is, you are not crazy, and you are not the problem. What you are experiencing is not a failure of love on your part. It is a systematic pattern of manipulation and control. It is important to name this reality so that you can begin to separate yourself from the chaos. This video is here to help you understand the dynamics at play, specifically regarding toxic behavior from a female partner who exhibits narcissistic traits, and to give you the tools to protect your peace, your mind, and your future. To understand how to protect yourself, you must first understand the core mechanism driving this behavior. At the heart of narcissism is not confidence, as it often appears on the surface, but a profound and fragile sense of self. For a woman with these traits, her identity is not built from within. It is constructed from the reflections she receives from others. She needs constant validation, admiration, and control to feel stable. When she does not receive this, or when she perceives a threat to her image or authority, she reacts with defensive aggression. This is not about you making a mistake. It is about her inability to regulate her own emotions and her need to externalize any internal discomfort onto you. This dynamic creates a cycle where you are constantly walking on eggshells, monitoring your words and actions to avoid triggering her reaction. Over time, this erodes your sense of self. You stop trusting your own judgment because you have been trained to prioritize her emotional state over your own reality. Recognizing this imbalance is the first step toward protection. You are not dealing with a partner who is simply difficult or going through a hard time. You are dealing with someone who views relationships as a source of supply rather than a mutual exchange of care. One of the most common and damaging behaviors you may encounter is gaslighting. This is a form of psychological manipulation where she denies your reality, dismisses your feelings, or twists facts to make you doubt your own perception. She might say things like, "You are too sensitive," "That never happened," or "You are imagining things." She may rewrite history to make herself the victim and you the aggressor, even when you were simply setting a boundary or expressing a need. The psychology behind this is simple. By destabilizing your grip on reality, she gains control. If you are unsure of what is true, you cannot effectively challenge her behavior. You become dependent on her version of events. The impact on you is devastating. You start to second-guess every interaction. You apologize for things you did not do. You suppress your emotions because you have been told they are invalid or excessive. To protect yourself from gaslighting, you must stop looking to her for validation of your reality. Start keeping a private journal. Write down events as they happen, including dates, times, and direct quotes. This is not for confrontation. It is for your own clarity. When she tries to twist the narrative, you can refer to your records internally to ground yourself. You do not need to prove her wrong. You only need to know the truth for yourself. This creates a mental barrier that her manipulation cannot penetrate. Another critical aspect of this dynamic is the use of emotional volatility as a tool for control. You may notice that her mood shifts rapidly and unpredictably. One moment she is loving and charming, and the next she is cold, critical, or enraged. This inconsistency keeps you in a state of hyper-arousal. Your nervous system is constantly on alert, waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is often referred to as intermittent reinforcement. Because the good moments are so intense and rewarding, you endure the bad moments in hopes of returning to that high. It creates a chemical addiction in the brain, similar to gambling. You stay because you are chasing the version of her that existed in the beginning, or the version that appears during the love-bombing phase after a conflict. The psychology here is that unpredictability creates dependency. If she were consistently cruel, you would leave. If she were consistently kind, you would feel secure. But by mixing the two, she keeps you hooked. The effect on you is a loss of emotional stability. You become anxious, irritable, and unable to focus on other areas of your life. To protect yourself, you must detach from the highs and lows. Stop reacting to her emotional storms. When she becomes volatile, do not try to fix it, soothe it, or argue with it. Step back, physically and emotionally. Say calmly, "I am not going to engage in this conversation right now," and remove yourself from the situation. By refusing to participate in the drama, you remove the fuel she needs to sustain the cycle. Projection is another tactic that requires careful navigation. Projection occurs when she attributes her own negative traits, feelings, or behaviors to you. If she is being dishonest, she will accuse you of lying. If she is cheating or flirting with others, she will accuse you of infidelity. If she is selfish, she will call you self-centered. This happens because she cannot tolerate shame or guilt. These feelings are too painful for her fragile ego to process, so she ejects them onto you. By making you the bad guy, she preserves her self-image as the victim or the righteous one. The impact on you is a deep sense of injustice and confusion. You spend hours defending yourself against accusations that are completely baseless. You try to provide evidence of your integrity, but it never matters, because the accusation is not about facts. It is about her emotional needs. To protect yourself from projection, do not take the bait. Do not defend yourself against false accusations. When you defend yourself, you are accepting the premise that there is something to debate. There is not. Instead, use neutral statements. Say, "I hear that you feel that way," or "That is not accurate, but I am not going to argue about it." Then, disengage. Understand that her accusations are a reflection of her internal state, not your character. Let her keep her projections. They belong to her, not to you. Silent treatment and stonewalling are also powerful weapons in this arsenal. When she feels threatened or wants to punish you, she may withdraw completely. She ignores your texts, refuses to speak to you, and acts as if you do not exist. This is not a need for space. It is a punitive measure designed to induce anxiety and fear of abandonment. The psychology behind this is control through deprivation. By withholding connection, she forces you to chase her for reassurance. You may find yourself pleading, apologizing, or begging for attention just to break the tension. This reinforces her power and teaches you that your access to love is conditional on your compliance. The effect on you is a profound sense of loneliness and panic. You feel invisible and worthless. To protect yourself, you must reframe the silent treatment. See it not as a punishment, but as a gift of time. Use this period to reconnect with yourself. Engage in hobbies, see friends, exercise, or rest. Do not chase her. Do not bombard her with messages. Let the silence sit. When you stop chasing, you break the cycle. You show her that your well-being does not depend on her attention. This shifts the power dynamic. If she returns, do not reward the behavior with immediate warmth. Maintain your boundaries and require respectful communication before re-engaging. It is also important to address the issue of triangulation. She may bring third parties into your conflicts to validate her position and isolate you. This could be friends, family members, ex-partners, or even children. She may share private details of your relationship with others to gain their sympathy and turn them against you. She might compare you to others, suggesting that they treat her better or that you are lacking in comparison. The goal is to create a coalition against you, making you feel outnumbered and incorrect. The psychology here is about securing external validation and undermining your support system. By turning others against you, she ensures that you have nowhere to turn for perspective. The impact on you is isolation. You feel alone in your experience and afraid to speak up because you believe no one will believe you. To protect yourself, maintain your integrity and your connections. Do not badmouth her to others, as this lowers you to her level and gives her ammunition. Instead, be consistent, calm, and honest in your interactions with mutual friends and family. Let your actions speak for themselves. Over time, people who are grounded in reality will see the discrepancy between her words and her behavior. Protect your privacy. Stop sharing vulnerable information with her that she can use against you later. Keep your inner circle small and trusted. As you begin to recognize these patterns, you may feel a surge of anger or grief. This is normal. You are mourning the relationship you thought you had and the person you thought she was. But anger and grief, while valid, can keep you tied to her if you are not careful. The goal is not to hate her, but to become indifferent to her manipulation. Indifference is the opposite of love, not hate. Hate still requires energy and engagement. Indifference means you no longer care enough to react. This is achieved through a process called gray rocking. Gray rocking involves becoming as uninteresting and unresponsive as a gray rock. You give short, neutral answers. You show no emotion. You share no personal information. You do not argue, justify, or explain. You become boring to her because you no longer provide the emotional reaction she craves. This is not about being mean. It is about being safe. It is a protective shield that allows you to disengage without escalating the conflict. Practice this in low-stakes situations first. Notice how it feels to withhold your emotional energy. Notice how much lighter you feel when you stop trying to manage her feelings. Setting boundaries is the cornerstone of your protection. However, with a narcissistic individual, boundaries are not suggestions. They are rules with consequences. A boundary is not telling her what to do. It is telling her what you will do. For example, instead of saying, "Stop yelling at me," which she will ignore, say, "If you yell, I will leave the room." Then you must follow through. Every time. If you do not enforce the consequence, the boundary is meaningless. She will test your limits repeatedly to see if you are serious. This is known as an extinction burst, where the behavior gets worse before it gets better. Stay firm. Do not negotiate. Do not explain yourself excessively. Your boundary is your property, and you have the right to enforce it. The impact of strong boundaries is that you reclaim your autonomy. You teach her that she cannot access you unless she respects your terms. This may lead to the end of the relationship, and that is okay. In fact, it is often the necessary outcome. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. Healing begins when you shift your focus from her to yourself. For a long time, your entire world revolved around her moods, her needs, and her opinions. Now, you must rebuild your identity outside of that dynamic. Reconnect with the things you loved before the relationship. Rediscover your values, your interests, and your goals. Spend time with people who uplift you and reflect your worth back to you in a healthy way. Therapy can be incredibly helpful in processing the trauma and rebuilding your self-esteem. Remember that healing is not linear. You will have good days and bad days. You may miss her, or you may feel guilty for leaving. These feelings do not mean you made the wrong choice. They mean you are human, and you are grieving. Be patient with yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion you tried to give her. Ultimately, protecting yourself from a narcissistic woman's toxic behavior is about reclaiming your reality. It is about trusting your instincts again. It is about understanding that you deserve a relationship based on mutual respect, empathy, and honesty. You deserve to feel safe in your own home. You deserve to be heard without fear of retaliation. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you can provide. The journey out of this dynamic is challenging, but it is also liberating. As you step away from the chaos, you will find a quiet strength within yourself that you may have forgotten existed. You will realize that you are enough, just as you are. You do not need to earn love through suffering. You do not need to prove your worth through endurance. Your worth is inherent. Take this knowledge and use it to build a life that is truly yours. Set your boundaries, hold your ground, protect your peace. And remember, you are not alone in this. Many have walked this path before you and have found freedom on the other side. You can too. The confusion will clear, the exhaustion will fade, and in its place, you will find clarity, strength, and a profound sense of peace. Keep moving forward, one step at a time. You are worthy of a life free from manipulation and full of genuine connection. Trust yourself. You have survived the storm, and now you have the opportunity to build a shelter that stands firm, no matter the weather. This is your time to heal, to grow, and to thrive. Embrace it.